West Bromwich Albion are one of the biggest and most historic clubs in English football. Former champions of England, multiple-time FA Cup winners, several seasons spent in the Premier League, one of the biggest fan bases in the country. But in recent years, they've been at risk of extinction. Negligent ownership, decisions potentially sending the club into financial oblivion. Despite the uncertainty though, over the last two seasons, West Brom have been going in the right direction on the pitch. A playoff finish last season, and at the time of recording, are top of the Championship. So how have they done it? And are we getting towards a stage where things are looking just as good off the pitch? Let's find out. I'm Ryan Dilks from the Second Tier Podcast, and here's how West Brom are defying the odds. Firstly, a quick history lesson for us all. West Brom were relegated from the Premier League in 2018 after 8 years in the top flight. They had been taken over by Chinese businessman Guochuan Lai in 2016 as part of a deal worth up to £200 million. Worth remembering that name because he's going to come up a lot here. A series of bad decisions led to them being back in the Championship. However, West Brom managed to return to the Premier League after just 2 seasons away. It didn't last though, and despite getting Sam Allardyce in, they would be relegated after the 1 season. And that relegation was where the problems really started to arise. In 2021, it was revealed Guochuan Lai had taken £5 million of West Brom's money and loaned it to one of his other companies during the COVID pandemic. It was also revealed that the initial deadline for that money to be given back to West Brom had been missed. Lai then said the money would be repaid by the end of 2022. Ironically, Lai told a lie, because that didn't happen either. There were other promises made for when that money would be paid, but as of September 2024, that's not happened. It's essentially been left as a £5 million black hole in West Brom's finances, which they're never going to get back. And trust me, it gets worse. But more about that later. You know, enough about West Brom's finances. I wonder how they're getting on the pitch.
08081 009956. Arnold's a Baggies fan. Evening, Arnold.
Game out! Get this roll out!
After relegation, West Brom got in Valérien Ismaël as manager for the 2021-2022 season. He was fresh off the back of a remarkable season with Barnsley, getting them into the playoffs despite having one of the smallest budgets in the league. And it was dull. The football was direct, and there didn't seem to be a big plan. They ended up having a decent start, but results dwindled, and after 8 losses in 11, Ismaël would be sacked after just 7 months and 29 league games in charge. And in terms of transfers, West Brom were really entering a banter era. That season they signed Adam Reach for some reason, Georgian Hugill, who scored once in 20 appearances despite having an XG of 6. I'm not joking. They even got Andy Carroll in for a bit. A really heartbreaking transfer is Daryl Dike, who moved for £7 million in January 2022. In 2.5 seasons, he's managed 15 starts for West Brom because he just cannot stay fit. But when it comes to the financial uncertainty that West Brom have suffered with since, this move really didn't help. So you're West Brom. You've fallen out of the playoffs. You don't have a manager. You need someone to get your promotion bid back on track. Who do you get in? Oh no, it can't be.
How's the break then, Steve?
How's the bacon, did you say? How's the bacon, did you say? How's the bacon, did you say? How's the bacon, did you say?
Yep, that's right, they got in Steve Bruce. They just had to, didn't they? In fairness to Steve Bruce, he guided West Brom from 7th in the table to 10th, and that's where they finished. Bruce won 6 of his 17 games in charge for the remainder of that season. So it didn't go too well, but West Brom headed into the 2022-23 season with a fresh sense of optimism. At this stage, the club's financial problems weren't so evident. There was concern, but fans weren't fully aware of how bad things would get in a few months' time. But more on that shortly. There was a bit of hope that they could have a better crack at promotion. They got in 2 players who were amongst the best in the league at the time in Jed Wallace and John Swift on free transfers. They brought back Okayu Kuzlu, who stood out for West Brom in the Premier League. Some of their other signings were a bit different, and that was down to the incredible scouting network of one Steve Bruce. He signed Brandon Thomas Asante after becoming aware of him because he played for Salford, who were managed at the time by Steve Bruce's son-in-law. They also signed Thomas Peters, who was Steve Bruce's neighbour. But never mind, West Brom had a really good squad. Perhaps could they have a better season and really challenge for... No, they didn't. Steve Bruce was sacked 13 games into the season, with West Brom 22nd, having only one win to their name. This video is brought to you by our good friends at SBK. If you haven't heard of them yet, then where have you been? SBK's comprehensive range of markets and exclusive offers makes it the best place to bet on the Championship this season. Whether you're creating an accumulator or customizing your bet builder, SBK has got you covered. Don't believe us? Sign up today and find out. So you've got West Brom, a club in a rocky financial situation, which is about to get worse, but more on that in a bit. They're in the relegation zone after a shocking start to the season, and they've got an owner who doesn't really care about the club. Everything is pointing towards a really scary situation. So who could possibly come in and save them?
Your savior is here!
Carlos Corberan was appointed as West Brom manager on the 25th of October 2022. He was at Huddersfield and had recently guided them to a third place finish and a playoff final despite some of the smallest resources in the league. He had a brief spell at Olympiacos but was sacked after just a month and a half. So he was available and West Brom got him in. And it was the best decision the club made throughout the 8 years of Guochuan Lai's reign. Don't give him the credit though. He does not deserve it at all. It actually needs to go to the club's chief exec at the time, Guochuan Lai, who got him in. He's a controversial character in himself, but by all accounts, he set West Brom off in the right direction again before leaving in 2024. Not long after taking over, Carlos Corberan's West Brom will go on to win 9 games in 10 and climb away from the relegation zone. They would eventually finish 9th, but off the pitch, a storm was brewing. At the end of 2022, West Brom took out a loan from a company called MSD Holdings, and I'll try and explain this in the least boring way possible. It was a £20 million loan which they would get over 4 years. Now, the club said this was going to be used for, quote, general business operations. But the long and short of it is this. After 4 years, West Brom would have to pay back that £20 million plus interest, which is estimated would be a further £10 million. Now, keep in mind the average annual income of your average Championship club is around £25 million. Now, I'm no accountant, but it seems quite difficult to pay £30 million plus wages, plus keeping the lights on at the Hawthorns, when you've only got £25 million in your bank. Am I going crazy? That sounds like the case, doesn't it? But that was particularly a kick in the teeth when Guochuan Lai, as we mentioned earlier, took £5 million out of the club to help with his own businesses. Understandably, fans were concerned. Supporters weren't just worried about dropping down the leagues, they were worried whether they would still have a club to support. There would be regular protests at West Brom throughout 2023 with the message clear: Guochuan Lai, get out of our club. This guy clearly had no intention of putting more money into West Brom, and if a takeover didn't happen soon, there was a real chance the club could go under. And so West Brom headed into the 2023-24 season under a cloud. Not only had there not been a takeover, the squad had been left weakened. Star centre-back Dara O'Shea had been sold for £7 million to help with the finances, and while every other club in the Championship strengthened, West Brom only brought in 3 players that summer. Josh Maja on a free transfer, then Jeremy Sarmiento and Pipa on loan, who both didn't start many games. It felt like a season of consolidation while off-the-pitch matches got sorted out at West Brom. But old Carlos Corberan, he had different ideas. Despite a weakened squad and the likes of Leicester, Ipswich, Leeds and Southampton having the highest standard promotion race in Championship history, West Brom found themselves 5th at the end of October. Now, it's not unusual for a team to start well before dropping off slowly, but this West Brom team under Carlos Corberan, they were the definition of consistency. From the 30th of October until the end of the season, West Brom only had 2 weeks where they weren't 5th in the table. A crazy achievement. Even if they finished between 7th and 10th, having flirted with the playoffs, it would have been amazing. To get there early on and cling onto a place for pretty much the whole season is ridiculous. So how did Corberán do it? Well, first of all, his in-game management was top class. They mixed up how they played and adapted to whoever it was that they were playing. That's highlighted by West Brom only losing 4 games out of 10 against fellow top 6 sides that season. Secondly is their incredible defensive record. only Leicester and Leeds conceded fewer goals than West Brom that season. And thirdly is Corberán's incredible ability to get players' careers back on track. Graded Ian Garner joined West Brom for 11 million and had looked hopeless for 3 seasons. But under Corberán, he was rejuvenated. Cedric Kipre had been let go on loan by West Brom the season before. Under Corberán, he became one of the best centre-backs in the league. Alex Mowat had been deemed unneeded the season before as well, but became a key man in midfield. They're the main examples, but Carlos Corberan managed to up the games of every player in that squad. They would eventually lose to Southampton in the playoffs, but there was finally good news for West Brom fans off the pitch. In February of 2024, West Brom were finally taken over by an American group, led by businessman Shailen Patel. It put an end to Guochuan Lai's 8-year reign of terror and gave new hope for Baggies fans heading into a new era. However, it wasn't to be all rainbows and butterflies just yet. At the start of August, it was revealed West Brom had been placed under an EFL-imposed business plan. It meant there was a limit on the number of transfer deals they could do because of concerns that they were on course to breach financial rules. Around this time, Patel put out an open letter where he admitted the club would have to cut costs. What West Brom fans were finding out was that the hangover from the Guochuan Lai era was very real, and it was going to take some time for the club to recover from that. It led to some big players on big wages being released, including Cedric Kipre, who had been arguably their best player the season before. The likes of Connor Townsend, Okay Yukuzlu and Brendan Thomas Asante were also sold for around a total of £4 million. They did have a bit of room to manoeuvre though. It wasn't like they were crawling around along the floor trying to find pennies. They paid fees for the likes of Callum Stowes from Barnsley and Torbjorn Hegem from this Swedish team, and most notably Mikey Johnston from Celtic for £3 million, who was on loan at West Brom the season before. So in the circumstances, it was actually a good window for West Brom. Were they significantly stronger than the season before? No. I personally think you could even argue that the squad is weaker than it was at the end of last season, but West Brom fans I've spoken to disagree with that. That's up for you to decide. Whatever the case, it was always going to be difficult to replicate last season's success. Somebody should have told Carlos Corberan that though. At the time of recording, we're 5 games into the season and West Brom are top of the league, having picked up 13 points from a possible 15. Despite the business plan, despite the debatable improvement of the squad over the summer, Carlos Corberan is once again defying the odds. Some of the stars of this great start include Josh Maja, top goal scorer in the Championship with 5 goals in 5 games. Before joining West Brom, he'd been a free agent with seemingly very little interest in him. Corberán has completely turned around his career. Carlan Grant's another one. Last season he was allowed to go out on loan to Cardiff. This season Corberán has reintroduced him to the team and he's had a great start. And of course Tom Fellows, recently mentioned in our video of the top 10 Championship players most likely to play for England. The 21-year-old has got 4 assists in 5 games. He's such a brilliant talent and I believe he'll be one of the best attacking players in the Championship this season. So West Brom are top of the league. Will they stay there? Probably not. It's a long old season and we're only just getting started. But the fact West Brom are even challenging at the top end of the Championship is a miracle in itself. A club with their financial situation and the resources they've got in comparison to other Championship clubs means really they should be a mid-table side at best. I can't recall any teams in Championship history who have managed to do as well as West Brom have, despite the constraints which they have to face. But all the credit there has to go to Carlos Corberan. In my book, the best manager in the Championship. What next for West Brom then? Can we expect them to be back in the Premier League again soon? There's a great chance, but I have 2 words of warning first of all. Number 1 is regarding their financial situation. Right now, as an outsider, it's difficult to say where they are with things. The £20 million loan which I mentioned is due to be paid back in the next 2 to 3 years. Now, if West Brom get to the Premier League before then, fine. There's no need to worry about that at all. That'll just be absolutely pointless worrying about it. If they don't, it's very hard to say right now what that will mean for the club. However, Shailen Patel, the new owner, seems like a very switched on guy, and fans can trust that he won't recklessly put the future of the club on the line. The other concern would be regarding Carlos Corberan. Undoubtedly a top manager, and there's got to be a concern that as long as he keeps doing an outstanding job, he's going to attract interest from elsewhere. Leeds have long been linked with him after he was previously a coach there. Leicester were reportedly considering him in the summer. Any bottom-end to mid-table Premier League club who is in need of a manager will almost certainly consider him as an option. That's got to be a concern for Baggies fans. Hopefully he stays, because they took a chance on him when he was out of work, and this journey so far has been incredible. West Brom supporters absolutely love him, and the longer he stays there, the more likely they'll be a Premier League side again, sooner rather than later. If Carlos Corberan does that, he'll go down as a West Bromwich Albion legend. So this has been how West Brom are defying the odds. What do you think of their rise? Do you think they'll be a Premier League side once again soon? Let me know in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe for more content like this. I've been Ryan Dilks from the Second Tier, and we'll be back again very soon.